Help! Help! I wanted to scream that night, but my throat locked tight as though unseen hands gripped it. The forest path stretched before me, narrow and endless, and the drums, those drums would not stop. Boom, boom, boom. They beat like a giant's heart, echoing inside my skull. My name is Obinna, son of Mazi and Nene. I am 19 seasons old, a hunter by blood, and until that night, I thought I knew fear. But the night taught me otherwise. I had returned from hunting with only a small gazelle. My pride stung, for hunters my age brought home antelope, even leopard. As I lay on my raffia mat, I heard it. The drums, not the ones of celebration, not the ones maidens danced to during festivals. These drums were thick, heavy, and wrong. They came from the sacred forest, where no man should walk after dark. I should have closed my ears. I should have wrapped myself in sleep, but something stronger than sense dragged me to my feet. My bow hung on my shoulder, my feet carried me into the night, and the moon, pale and round, followed me like an eye that never blinked. I entered the trees. The air there was different, heavier, colder, and filled with whispers. Then I saw them, the masquerades. They danced in silence, though the drums beat. Their raffia robes swayed, their carved masks shone with firelight. But one stood taller than the rest. His mask was carved with beauty that hurt to look upon, his eyes glowing like burning coals. My blood froze, for though I had never seen her face in years, I knew those eyes. They were my mother's eyes, the eyes of the woman buried long ago. Obinna. The name slid through the air like a snake, soft yet sharp, wrapping itself around me. My legs shook. How could a masquerade a spirit know my name? The tall figure stepped forward, his raffia rustling like dry leaves. The firelight caught the edges of his mask, and for a heartbeat, the face beneath it flickered, half wood, half flesh. My mother's lips, my mother's cheekbones hidden inside the mask of the dead. No, I whispered, stumbling back, my bow nearly falling from my shoulder. No, you are not her. My mother is gone. She was buried by the Iroko tree. I saw it with my own eyes. The drum stopped. Just like that, silence spread across the forest, thick enough to choke me. The other masquerades froze, their carved faces turned toward me, as if waiting.
The tall one raised a whip of fire. Yes, fire. The strands cracked and hissed, burning the earth where they touched. He lifted it high above his head, just like in the stories old men whispered by the moonlight. I wanted to scream, I wanted to run, but my feet locked in the sand. Then it happened. Do not fear, the masquerade said, though his voice trembled between thunder and lullaby. For I am your mother, Mwaka Ego, the one who bore you. I crossed the river of spirits to speak tonight. Obinna, wealth will follow you like a shadow. Goats, yams, wives, gold, they will all be yours. But the word hung heavy as a stone. But your bride, he said, lowering the burning whip until it almost touched my skin. Your bride will pay the price. The fire flared, the masquerades vanished, and I was alone, alone in the darkness, with my heart breaking like clay in the fire. I ran. My bare feet tore through roots and thorns, but I did not stop. The forest was no longer a place of game and firewood. It had become a living thing, chasing me, with whispers of drums that were no longer there. Your bride will pay the price. The words clung to my skull, echoing louder than my pounding heart. By the time I reached the edge of the village, sweat had drenched my body. I bent over, clutching my knees, trying to breathe. The moon looked down, pale and watchful, as though it too had heard the masquerade's warning. But I told no one. Who would believe me? That I had seen my dead mother beneath the mask, that she promised me wealth and cursed my bride. No, they would laugh, or worse, they would call me accursed. So I kept my mouth shut. But silence does not bury prophecy. The next morning, I went hunting. My hands still trembled as I strung my bow, but the forest felt strangely generous. Before the sun was high, I killed 2 fat antelopes, 3 rabbits, and a bushfowl. Never had such bounty fallen into my hands.
When I carried them back, the villagers stared. "Obina," one man shouted, clapping me on the back. "You will be the pride of Otwacha." The chief himself came to see the catch. "This boy," he said, "is destined for greatness." I smiled, but inside my stomach twisted. The wealth had begun to arrive, just as the masquerade promised. But at what cost? It was at the stream that I first saw her, Adaeze, the daughter of the palm wine tapper. She was bending to fill her calabash, her wrapper clinging to her like second skin, her laughter ringing like beads shaken in a gourd. Our eyes met, and the world stopped. The curse, the warning, the shadow of death all faded. In that moment, there was only her smile and the fire it lit inside me. I helped her lift the calabash to her head. She thanked me, her voice soft as a flute. And as she walked away, I knew without doubt this was the bride fate had chosen for me, and she would be the one to pay. That night, I dreamed. I was standing by the stream, holding Adaeze's hand, but the water turned red, and the calabash she carried burst into flames. She screamed, and when I turned, the masquerade stood behind me, whip of fire in his hands. I woke up drenched in sweat, my chest heavy as though stones lay upon it. I went outside. The night was quiet, save for the frogs croaking. But in the darkness, I swore I saw shadows moving, shapes wearing masks, watching me from the edge of the trees. The prophecy was not done with me. It stalked me even in my sleep. In the weeks that followed, my fame grew. Every hunt filled baskets. Every trap yielded more than I expected. People came to me for meat, for skins, for trade. The chief himself gave me a place of honor at the Yam festival. But with the praise came whispers. "He walks with spirits," some said. "No man can be this lucky without the hand of the unseen." I laughed when they said it, but when I sat alone, I did not laugh, because deep down, I knew they were right.
And when Adaeze smiled at me in the crowd, I remembered the masquerade's words, and my heart ached. By the riverbank, Adaeze and I met in secret. We spoke of dreams, of children running in the fields, of a hut filled with laughter, of mornings where she would grind millet while I prepared my bow. "Obina," she said one evening, her hand brushing mine, "you are my destiny. No wealth, no man, no spirit can take you from me." I wanted to believe her, but behind her words I heard another voice, my mother's voice, warning me that the gods had already chosen her fate. Still, I kissed her hand and said, "Then may the spirits themselves hear us and do nothing." But I knew spirits always listen, and they never do nothing. It was not long before Ezeudo, the village priest, called me to the shrine. He sat cross-legged before the fire, cowries clinking in his hands, his eyes white and sharp as the moon fixed on me. "Obina," he said slowly, "your shadow is too thick. I see wealth around you, but I also see blood. You walk with something you do not understand." I swallowed hard, my mouth dry. "Do not take a bride yet," he warned. "If you do, the earth itself will mourn." But how could I tell him that I had already given my heart? The Yam festival came again, and with it, the masquerades. The village square was filled with laughter, with dancers stamping dust into the air, with drummers striking rhythms that made the ground tremble. But when I saw one masquerade step from the crowd, taller, darker, carrying a whip of fire, my blood froze. The mask turned toward me, and though no one else seemed to notice, I heard the words, clear as thunder. "Obina, you have chosen. Now the price will come." The drums thundered, the people cheered, and in my heart, the curse opened its claws. That night, as the drums of the Yam festival faded, I walked home through the narrow bush path. The moon was high, and the shadows thick.
Obina, a voice whispered, soft but heavy as thunder. I froze, gripping my bow. My eyes darted, but no one was there. Obina, it came again, closer this time, like breath on my neck. I turned, and there she was. My mother, her face pale beneath the mask, her eyes glowing. "You cannot escape it, my son," she said. "Your wealth is bought with the blood of the one you love. Prepare yourself." I fell to my knees, trembling. "Why me, mother? Why her?" But the spirit only turned, fading into the dark, her whip dragging against the earth like a snake. The next morning, the sky was strange. Clouds gathered though the sun had just risen, and the wind carried a sharpness that made even the elders frown. In the market, people whispered as I passed. "The boy is too blessed," they said. "Blessings like this never come free." I ignored them, buying palm oil for Adeze's mother, but my heart beat faster with each word. When I saw Adeze at her stall, she smiled and pressed roasted yam into my hands. "Eat, my hunter," she teased. But as I bit into it, the taste turned bitter. I spat it out, my stomach twisting. Something inside me screamed that time was running out. I could not keep silent any longer. That evening, I went to Adeze's father's hut. I bowed low and placed a fat antelope before him. "I seek your daughter's hand in marriage," I declared. The old man's eyes lit up. "A fine hunter, blessed by the gods. Adeze is yours." Adeze herself stood in the doorway, cheeks flushed, eyes bright as the morning sun. She covered her face with her wrapper, but I saw her smile. For one brief moment, happiness burned brighter than the curse. I held her hand under the firelight and whispered, "You will be my bride." But somewhere in the forest, I knew the masquerade was laughing. Preparations began quickly. Women pounded yam, men fetched palm wine, maidens sang songs of love. The village buzzed with joy. But not everyone smiled. As a Yudo, the priest summoned the elders. "This marriage must not happen," he warned. "The spirits are restless. I smell blood on this union." The chief frowned but dismissed him. "Love is no crime, priest. Let the boy wed." That night, as Adeze and I met by the river, fireflies circling us, I told her of the priest's words. She only pressed her hand to my chest. "Then let the spirits watch us. My love for you is stronger than their anger."
Her faith pierced me like an arrow. I wished I could believe it. On the eve of the wedding, masquerades danced in the square. Children clapped, men shouted, and drums shook the ground. But as I watched, one masquerade broke away. Its mask was carved like a skull, its eyes burning red. It stepped close to me, unseen by the crowd. In its hand was a small mask, black as night. "Wear this when the drums stop," it hissed. "Then you will know the truth." I reached for it, but the masquerade vanished into smoke. When I opened my hand, the mask lay there, cold and heavy. I knew then the spirits had not finished with me. The day of the wedding dawned bright. Adeze wore a wrapper of red and gold, her waist jingling with beads, her face glowing with joy. She sang as she walked to the square, her voice weaving through the air like silk. I could barely breathe as I watched her. This was the woman I had dreamed of, the one I wanted beside me forever. Yet in her song I heard something else, a note that was not hers, a whisper beneath her voice, the words of the masquerade, "Her life for your wealth." I clenched my fist, praying to the gods, let it be me, not her. But the gods rarely listen. The wedding feast roared with laughter, yam, palm wine, roasted goat, enough to feed the whole village. Adeze and I sat side by side, hands clasped. Then suddenly the drum stopped. The silence was like a knife. The villagers froze, eyes wide. And in my hand, the small black mask grew hot, burning my skin. I looked up. The masquerade stood at the edge of the square, whip raised, staring at me. No one else seemed to see. "Wear it," the voice thundered in my skull. My heart raced. I pressed the mask to my face and the world went black. When my sight returned, I was no longer in the village square. I was in the forest, standing before my mother's spirit. She looked younger now, her face soft but sorrowful. Obina, you cannot escape fate. Your wealth has come, but the price is not yet paid. Behind her, Ada is Eli on the ground, blood staining her wrapper. I screamed and ran to her, but each step took me farther away. Choose, my mother whispered, wealth or love. One will live, the other must die. I tore the mask from my face, gasping back in the square. But Ada was staring at me with frightened eyes. She had seen something too. That night, tragedy struck. A child no older than 5 fell dead in his sleep. His mother wailed through the night, her cries echoing across the village. The priest declared, the spirits are angry, this union will bring more death. The villagers turned their eyes on me, some with pity, others with hate. Obina has cursed us, they whispered.
I wanted to run, to hide. But Adaeze took my hand, her grip firm. We will face this together, she said. Her courage. The following evening, a storm swept through Otuocha. Thunder cracked like war drums. Lightning split the sky and rain battered the earth. In the wind, I heard the masquerade's voice again. The debt is due, Obina. If you will not give her, the land will take her. I rushed to Odaeze's hut, my chest pounding. She opened the door, her hair loose, her eyes filled with fear. Obina, she whispered, I dreamed I was buried beneath the Udala tree, and you could not save me. I pulled her close, my heart breaking. No dream, no spirit, no masquerade will take you from me. But the storm howled louder, as though mocking my words. The storm passed, but Otuocha did not return to peace. At dawn, the village square lay empty. The market stalls were abandoned, clay pots shattered, and goats wandered aimlessly, bleating into the silence. I walked through the ghostly streets with Odaeze at my side. Where is everyone? She whispered, clutching my arm. Then we saw them, villagers huddled before the shrine, faces pale with fear. The priest stood at the front, his staff raised. The gods demand sacrifice, he thundered. If the hunter weds, the land will drown in death. The people turned to me, their eyes filled with a mixture of hatred and dread. I felt their fear weigh on me like chains. Odaeze's father came to me that night, his face shadowed by the firelight. He knelt before me, his voice breaking. Obina, my daughter loves you, but I beg you, send her away. Spare her from this curse. My chest tightened. Baba, I cannot. She is my life. Without her, I am nothing. He gripped my shoulders with trembling hands. Then both of you will be nothing. The spirits will not stop until blood is spilled. Please, my son, let her go. When he left, Odaeze entered, her eyes glistening with tears. She had heard everything. Obina, she whispered, I will never leave you, even if it costs me my life. Her words were both my salvation and my doom.
That night, when the moon was at its peak, the drums began again, not of men but of spirits. Their beats throbbed through the earth, shaking the walls of my hut. I stepped outside, bow in hand. Shadows moved between the trees. Masquerades, dozens of them, their whips snapping like lightning. They danced in circles, their masks glowing in the dark. At their center stood the skull-masked figure, the one who had given me the black mask. Its voice rose above the drums. Hunter, tonight the death is due. I fired an arrow, but it passed through the figure like smoke. The masquerade only laughed, and the sound curdled my blood. When I returned, Adaeze was waiting with a calabash of water. Her face was firm, her eyes blazing. Obina, if the spirits want me, they will have to fight me themselves. She tied a red cloth around her waist and picked up my mother's old machete. I will not sit and wait for death. I tried to take it from her, but she pulled away. I am not weak. I am not afraid. If the gods want a fight, they will meet a warrior's bride. Her bravery cut through my fear like a blade, but deep down, I knew courage alone would not defeat fate. The next day, the priest summoned us both to the shrine. Smoke curled from the sacred fire, and the air smelt of blood and palm oil. He raised a knife toward us. The gods have spoken. One must die before the full moon sets. If you refuse, the whole village will perish. Adeze stepped forward, her chin high. Then let it be me. Take me, but spare my people. I shouted, falling to my knees. No, take me instead. Let her live. The priest looked between us, his eyes unreadable. The gods do not care who, only that blood must flow. The knife cleaned, my heart pounded. The choice hung over us like thunder. That night, I went into the forest, calling out into the darkness. Masquerade, spirit, show yourself. The skull-masked figure appeared, its whip dragging across the ground. You call and I answer. I dropped to my knees. Spare her, take me, take everything I have, my strength, my wealth, my life. Just let Adeze live. The masquerade tilted his head. You would trade your life for hers? Yes, I shouted, gladly. The spirit laughed, a sound that shook the trees. Very well, Hunter. But know this, the gods never give without taking twice. Your choice will twist fate in ways you cannot imagine. I bowed my head, accepting the bargain, but in my chest, dread bloomed like fire. The day of the wedding came again, but it was not the same. No drums, no laughter. The village gathered in silence, their faces pale and fearful.
Adeze walked toward me in her red and gold wrapper, but her smile was gone. She looked at me as if searching for an answer I could not give. The priest spoke the words, joining us as man and wife. But as he finished, the wind rose, carrying whispers through the air. The masquerades appeared at the edge of the square, silent, watching. I felt the black mask burning in my pocket. I knew the spirit had not finished with me yet. That night, as Adeze and I lay in our hut, a scream tore through the village. We rushed outside. A woman knelt in the dust, her husband lifeless in her arms. His eyes were wide, his chest still. The priest appeared, his staff raised. The gods are not satisfied. The bargain is incomplete. I staggered back, realizing the truth. My sacrifice had not been enough. The gods had chosen another life at random. Adeze gripped my hand, her face pale. Obina, how many must die before this ends? The answer came in the wind, until the debt is fully paid. I could not bear it anymore. I took my bow, my arrows, and the black mask and went into the forest. At the sacred grove, the masquerades gathered, their eyes burning like fireflies. The skull-masked figure stepped forward. You made your choice, Hunter, but fate is not yours to command. Blood will flow one way or another. I raised my bow. Then I will fight you until my last breath. The masquerades roared, charging at me. I loosed arrow after arrow, each one passing through them like smoke. The skull-masked figure lifted its whip high. And then I put the black mask on. The world exploded in light. When the light faded, I stood in a world between worlds. My mother was there, her face gentle but sad. Obina, my son, you cannot fight destiny. Every gift has a price. Every blessing has a shadow. Behind her, Adeze appeared, her hands reaching for me. Obina, don't let go. I tried to run to her, but the ground split beneath us. She fell, her scream tearing through my soul. I caught her hand, but the spirits pulled her away. I woke in the village square. The mask shattered beside me. The villagers wept, for Adeze was gone.
Wealth filled my barns, goats and yams beyond counting, but I was empty. The prophecy had come true. My wealth had cost me my bride. And every night, when the drums of the masquerade begin, I hear her voice in the wind, calling my name.